All right, so today we're diving into a pretty fascinating and, kind of controversial idea. What if the government we interact with every day isn't actually the one the founders set up? We're going to break down a whole framework here that completely rethinks what our rights are. And it even offers up a single document, a tool designed to hold power in check. So let's just jump right in.
So, everything we're about to get into, it all really boils down to this one single question. And it's a big one, right? It really makes you rethink the whole relationship between us, the citizens, and the state. The question is, where does the government's authority really come from? Well, according to this material, the answer starts with a really simple but, as you'll see, a really powerful idea.
Okay, so first things first. Before we can even start talking about government or constitutions or any of that, we have to get on the same page about one word: right. The source material we're looking at is super, super specific about this. And honestly, its entire argument is built on this one single definition. So, this framework draws a really sharp line in the sand between two very different things. On one side, you have a right. The argument here is that a right is something you're born with. It's inherent. It comes from, a creator, a higher power, not from a government document. But then on the other side, you've got a privilege. And a privilege, that's just a permission slip. It's something the government grants you. One is yours from birth, the other is just borrowed. And, this is key, it can be taken away. And you can see where this leads, right? This is the logical next step. According to this way of thinking, the second a government puts a tax on your right to travel or tries to regulate your free speech, well, they've just illegally turned your God-given right into a government-granted privilege. And you really got to grasp this distinction, because it is the absolute key to understanding everything else we're about to talk about. All right, so if our rights don't come from the government, then that leads to a totally different picture of how power is structured, right? It means the government can't possibly be at the top of the food chain. So who is? Okay, here's the power structure, the hierarchy, as this source material lays it out. Step 1, at the very top, you've got the creator. That's the source of all rights. Then, those rights are handed down directly to us, to man, the people. Now, it's us, the people, who then create a constitution. But, and this is a huge but, we don't create it to get rights. We already have them. No, we create the constitution to build a little box and put the government inside it, to limit its power. Which brings us to the bottom of the ladder, the government. Its only legitimate job is to protect the rights we already have. So in this model, government is the employee, not the boss. It's a servant with a very, very specific job to do. And this leads to a pretty important legal term you got to know, de jure. It basically just means lawful or legitimate. The argument here is that we, the people, we are the actual de jure government. The folks we elect, the agencies, all that stuff we call the government, in this view, they're just administrators. They're managers we hired, and we only gave them a little bit of authority, delegated by us.
Okay, up to now, this has all been about the original design. But this is where the story takes a massive, dramatic turn. This framework claims that that whole original structure we just talked about got completely flipped on its head by one single act of Congress way back, over 150 years ago. And what this created, according to the source, is a tale of two constitutions. Now this right here, this is the historical bombshell the entire argument rests on. The source claims that an act called the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871 wasn't just some boring local law. Oh no, it alleges that this act quietly, kind of secretly, created a whole separate corporate constitution. A constitution for a brand new corporate entity. And this new corporate framework, it says, started running alongside the original 1787 Constitution and eventually just took its place.
So what are the supposed consequences of this? Well, they're huge. According to this viewpoint, ever since 1871, every single government body, I'm talking from the federal government all the way down to your local city hall, they've been operating not as real legitimate governments, but as for-profit corporations. And that means they're acting completely outside the rules of the original Constitution. Okay, so let's say you follow this two constitutions idea for a second. The next logical question is, what does that mean for the actual people in office? You know, the politicians, the judges. Well, the source argues it poisons the well. It corrupts the very foundation of their authority, their oath of office. This framework points to three major problems with these oaths. First, it says some officials just don't even take a proper documented oath at all. Second, and this is probably the biggest one, it argues that the officials who do take an oath are actually swearing to uphold the wrong constitution. They're swearing allegiance to that 1871 corporate one, not the original. And third, the final nail in the coffin. Anytime they violate that oath, even a little bit, they immediately lose any and all lawful authority they might have had. Poof, gone. And yeah, this image from the source material pretty much sums up the whole attitude here. The point it's making is that an oath is just a bunch of words unless the person saying them means it. A broken oath isn't just a mistake, it completely destroys any claim to legitimate power. So, after laying out this absolutely massive problem, the presentation doesn't just leave you hanging. It pivots to a solution. It actually proposes a very specific, hands-on tool that regular citizens can use to fix this. So, what is it and how's it supposed to work? Okay, so the solution is something called the Constitutional Affidavit of Oath, or CAO for short. So what is it? Well, it's basically a formal legal document, an affidavit that you, a citizen, can hand to any public official or even a candidate running for office. The whole point is to force them to go on the record, on their oath, and swear that they will uphold the original 1787 Constitution, and to make it crystal clear that's the only one they're swearing to. And the process they recommend is really straightforward. There are 3 simple steps. First, you present the affidavit to the official. Step 2, that official now has a very clear choice. They can either sign it and get it notarized, or they can refuse. And that leads to step 3. You publicize the result. You let everyone know what happened. You take it to, as they say, the court of public opinion, so the voters know exactly where this person stands. And really, it's the refusal that's the most powerful part. According to the source, if an official refuses to sign a document that simply reaffirms their oath to the original Constitution, well, what does that tell you? It sends a very loud and clear signal that they are not willing to be held to its limits. And the argument is that this isn't just interesting trivia, it's absolutely vital information for the public to have. And that's really the whole idea in a nutshell. This affidavit, it's presented not as some crazy radical thing, but as a simple, practical tool for bringing things back to what the source calls original principles. And it kind of leaves all of us with a really big question to chew on. When it comes to the people we put in power, what does real, genuine accountability actually look like?